It's a time, package from China time, so let's go. Yeah. Hey, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are going to take a close look at the A6 model, the A6 Plus to be exactly. So where I had a lot of problems getting the previous model here in the Wicked Studio, this thing was very fast delivered. However, this is already the A6 Plus version, and this is one of those many problems we're having when it comes to these Chinese handhelds. There are so many of them being released, or in this case, re-released. This is the deluxe version with the two controllers. So I can tell you that I've seen these before, and this is not an overall good controller. So where you can just see the form factor is not the most comfortable out there, it's just the cheap feel. This controller is way too small for my hands. Where the D-pad or the 4 buttons that need to be making a D-pad feel okay. The overall quality, well, no rumble function, works on 2 AAA batteries. So is this really worth it if you don't need controllers or just get yourself something different? It just works with an USB-C, let's say, adapter and the dongle itself. That's the simple configuration. But let's look at this, let's say, A6 Plus. Did they actually give me this purple version or send me this purple version? Because I ordered it and sometimes I was just getting something completely different. Where there are so many different brands out there like Powkiddy and Embernick having the, let's say, I think the biggest part of, let's say, the overall, let's say, market of the handhelds, there are still new devices coming. This is the Game MT E6 Plus version. So I do love what they're doing over here nowadays with these, let's say, overall quality, and the releases are sometimes surprisingly good. But is it the same with this one? That we're going to be finding out today. So I do love the color, and oh man, this thing smells nice. So that's one of the most important things, the smelly test, of course. However, when it comes to the form factor, nothing has been changed so far, I understand. Maybe we can do like a side-by-side comparison. So the form factor, it's kind of like a slim model, but I do love it. So when it comes to the controls, everything, we don't have any unlock buttons. We just have like the micro switch, let's say L1 and L2, volume control, having an HDMI out and headphone jack out, 2 USB where this is the input for the power, and this is the OTG port, 2 SD card configuration and the on and off switch. And that's actually it. There's some filth on here. Ugh. What the heck is this? Ugh. Let's clean it up first. Okay, in here we're having the crappy headphones and a USB-C cable. Seems to be like a decent one. And there also comes with a screen protector. That is nice. And having here the toilet paper manual like always. That makes no sense, and this is nothing different. Just basic explanation that we need a 5V 2 amp charger. So that's it what we're getting inside the package itself. So let's do a quick powering on together. So one of the previous models had like this very cool light up feature. But let's see if it's going to be powering on. There we go. So there's no RGB whatsoever, but I do love the LEDs around the joysticks and over here. So the previous model I had was a black version. I just want to have this purple greenness. Of course, it's like a personal thing when it comes to the colors. Ooh, this flickering thing going on is kind of cool. So the D-pad is a quite interesting one. We have like a full D-pad over here. Oh, let's boot up. The audio itself is sounding quite nice. We're having speakers at the back. Volume control, I really love when they're having like a physical volume control. Menu button over here. Then having select start. And we're going to be needing to charge it. That's one thing to be sure. The D-pad feels kind of nice. But it does have a very, very sturdy feel when it comes to that. The powering on, there's no touchscreen by the way, if you're wondering. So it's just the simple menu like that. But somehow looks like one of my SD cards hasn't been correctly, because this is the thing we're getting when it's actually powering on. But the unfortunate part is that they're using all kinds of, let's say, non-branded SD cards, and this is a serious problem. Simply because some of them will get corrupted. If it's like a week, a month or a year, it doesn't matter, they will get corrupted. I've seen this problem many times before. By the way, mine 128GB doesn't do anything at this point. But after a couple of boots and finally get this thing managed to into the Android part of it. And yeah, you can actually use it in combination also with the touchscreen, because now it does actually work. It has all to do that the touch wasn't enabled on the previous software. So in here we're finding all the options like an Android phone, only everything has been put in Chinese. And yeah, it's kind of cool, so we can actually use all of these features, get ourselves into the Play Store and install games. For example, if you have Street of Rage 4, you can just install it and play it on here. What we can do is maybe get yourself like a different interface. It's a lot of work, and I've seen it before with Retroid, but this is one of the ways you can actually play if you want to do a little bit of tinkering. I did wonder like what happens if you're going to be trying to boot it up without an SD card. Is there any firmware on the device itself, or is everything being loaded from an SD card? But it seems to be that the only thing that it does is just giving the vibration motor a rumble, and that's it. Let's remove the plastic. Let's remove the plastic. Already had like a short overview of the list, but what can you actually play with this? So when it comes to the device, depending on what kind of games you're actually going to be adding to this, we can play all the way up to Sega Saturn. So there's a lot of stuff we can play, but take consideration when it comes, for example, N64, we will have like the all famous limitations, but certain games are too demanding. But we can have a lot of cool things playing on this device. But let's get into some, let's say, gaming, and let's see how it actually all works. Okay, so starting off with some arcade. So what you need to take consideration when it comes to arcades itself. So when it comes to all kinds of, like say, old school games, MAME has a lot of great library that you can discover of many different games. However, when it comes to, let's say, Killer Instinct, Tekken MAME, stuff like that, that will not run on this. So the D-pad is quite nice when it comes to navigating with a beat 'em up game. The emulation is great, also normal aspect ratio, no the weird shenanigans with the widescreen. An absolutely beautiful display. And emulation is just spot on when it comes to arcade over here. A lot of fun. Pressing the M button will bring you back to the main menu. So the way how everything works is quite nice. Another test that's just great to do is PlayStation 1 and all the other craziness, but with MAME it's of course some Mortal Kombat. So just wanted to see how this actually worked, but so far the emulation is just great. Everything has been mapped correctly out of the box. One of the best features of this device is absolutely its audio quality. So when it comes to this new version, we can play all kinds of games. I'm just checking out some basic gaming, like of course, don't know what happened there. Just trying some basic gaming before like going into the more demanding stuff. Yeah, no problem here. Where I have so many new devices, can play all the 8-bit, 16-bit stuff. I must say that I do have a special place in my heart for this device, and this has simply to do with the D-pad. I think it's very comfortable, and also when it comes to the audio quality and the screen they're using, it's absolutely stunning. But when it comes to the form factor, I think it's a very comfortable. I do prefer to have like a Mio Plus or some kind of device to be used. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so N64, there we're having the situation I've mentioned before. It's going to be a hit or miss. So I slapped in a couple of games, not every single game was going to be booting up. You can just hear that it stutters. What we can actually do is get messing with the emulator, seeing if we have different ways to actually emulate this to get overall better performance. But it's going to be a hit or miss when it comes to the N64. So if you want to have an N64 emulator device, where it just looks in something different. Think about maybe in Steam Deck, where this thing is actually like massive compared with this tiny device. Or just look into the games that are supported. Most of them, the launch games, are just great. Cruising the USA and GoldenEye, that will not work at all. But after some minor hiccups, you can just actually see that this seems to be working just fine. So one of the things I love about Emulation that they're using with this is that with the program everything has been set to the right aspect ratio. Where the display is way too wide for it, you can just see getting two black bars over here. So that's absolutely awesome. You just want to have the authentic experience when it comes to the screen itself. And what I find always kind of cool is that you can see with these games that how vibrant the display itself is. No weird delays whatsoever. Okay, so when it comes to, let's say, some Sega Saturn, the emulation is going to be the same story like the N64. It's going to be a hit or miss. What is unfortunate, I just wanted to see if it's going to be working out of the box, slapped on a file. It seems to be booting up, that's already a miracle. But unfortunate, the controls aren't doing anything. And that's one of those things that I really hate about these devices. It's a hit or miss, but you can just see how the overall emulation is at this point. It seems to be playable, but we need to set up the controls later on. Another unfortunate part is when it comes to, let's say, how everything has been set up. You can see that the menu is glitching, so this is absolutely a problem. You see weird glitching going on when just choosing a character. Getting into the overall gameplay, it seems to be working just fine. So when it comes to Sega Dreamcast emulation, this device is capable of running it. But we did have reached this point that a lot of systems can play PlayStation 1 without any problem. And I think that's kind of cool. So let's get into some descent. Let's see if everything has been configured correctly. The joysticks are not doing anything. I'm going to be needing to using the D-pad. And it's not going to be very pleasant. Because the D-pad is quite sturdy when it comes to, like, say, the resistance of it. So PlayStation Portable here, this is a different story. You can just see that it does struggle a lot. So what we can actually do is pressing the joystick over here and getting in the PPSPP emulator and mess around with it. So let's say enabling frame skipping and tweak games. So we have overall better performance. And you can just actually see now it's just playable. But we need to do a lot of tinkering with the PlayStation Portable because this is the point where we can just actually say that it will try to pull all of the power out of the device. Oh boy, but there is a lot of stuttering going on. And of course it's going to be a hit or miss when it comes to certain games. But how about the HDMI functionality? If you're going to be plugging it in, you need to turn the device on and off. Otherwise it will not recognize. And actually when it's going to be recognized, this is the result you're getting. So you know, the device itself, when it comes to the software, there is still a lot of work going on. In this early model I've bought, yeah, it's just a freaking nightmare, man. Absolutely. A lot of problems and a lot of those weird mistakes like this. So one of the weird problems I have with this device, if you're going to be starting, let's say up, everything works like a charm. Shutting it down throughout the menu, that doesn't work at all with me. So what you need to do is holding the on and off switch for a very long time to make sure that it's turned off. And that's kind of weird. So when it comes to the software part, also there, oh boy, we do have like a lot of problems. The Plus model is a significant upgrade of the older version, but when it comes to the software, there we do have a lot of problems. So you can just see that the HDMI functionality doesn't even work out of the box, so there is a lot of tweaking involved with this. The controllers, yeah, we don't really need to care about those. So when it comes to this device, it's absolutely a beautiful product when it comes to the way how it's built, and it's quite comfortable to hold. It's a little bit too slim for my hands. The D-pad is very, let's say, like the resistance of the membrane underneath, it's okay. I really love the light up feature, but so far I understand you cannot turn it on and off, or maybe I've completely missed it out on the software. We also have like dual SD configuration, that is kind of cool, one for the firmware and one for the storage of the ROMs. So there's a lot of cool things to it, but it's still not there. And when it comes to the competition, this thing is okay. I want to thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, and it will be great to see you in the next video.